window as I sat in my truck outside my youngest son's junior wrestling gym, half listening to some sports radio rerun while checking the time. Kelsey always picked them up. Always. She handled all the scheduling after she quit her job to find herself, whatever that meant. Usually she texted non-stop. Pick up the dry cleaning. Don't forget Mason's inhaler. Reminder, Friday is crazy hair day. That day, nothing. Just dead silence. I chalked it up to maybe her phone dying. Maybe she was stuck in traffic. Maybe I didn't care anymore that she'd been off in some weird fog for months, talking about crystals and alignment, and that damn tarot deck that lived on our kitchen counter. Then my phone buzzed. One message. From her. I'm at Burning Man. Take care of the boys. I froze. My thumb hovered over the screen. Read it once, twice, third time. I blinked hard, trying to make sense of it. Burning Man? In Nevada? With who? Did she seriously just dump our lives into a text like I was the babysitter she forgot to pay? Then I looked up and saw them. All four of them, walking toward the truck like nothing was wrong. Backpacks bouncing, wrestling bags slung over their shoulders, sweaty hair sticking to their foreheads. They were supposed to be picked up by her. Braden, our oldest, beat the others to the door. He opened it and leaned in. Where's Mom? I forced a smile so stiff it hurt. Something came up, bud. I got it. He frowned. She said she'd bring popsicles. Sorry, man. She couldn't make it. I kept my voice even. I didn't blink. But inside, I was shaking like a washing machine with loose bolts. Once I got them home, I did everything I could not to lose it. Made boxed mac and cheese, helped with spelling homework, threw Mason in the tub, kept my voice steady, didn't let them see a crack. Then I went outside, sat on the back steps, and tried calling her. 10 times. Straight to voicemail. I texted. Nothing. Sent a message to her cousin. Hey, is Kelsey okay? No reply. It was like she had vaporized. At one point, I just sat there in the dark, listening to the cicadas buzz and the dogs bark 2 yards over, holding my phone like it was going to explain something if I stared long enough. Burning Man? With who? And why the hell now? Quick note. Before listening, share which city or country you're watching from. And let's continue. I stayed up until almost 2 in the morning, just sitting there in the living room after the kids were in bed. Didn't even turn the TV on. Just kept checking my phone. I knew it already, even then. But part of me still hoped it was a mistake. That maybe she was just trying to scare me. Push some boundary. But deep down, I knew better. That message wasn't the beginning of a fight. It was a goodbye wrapped in a middle finger. The next morning I packed all 4 lunches myself. Checked their folders. Kissed them on the forehead like nothing was wrong. And right after the bus pulled away, I went back inside and locked the door behind me. I wasn't waiting for her to come home. I was getting ready to clean up the mess. The day after I locked the door behind me, it started. Just this endless loop of chaos and exhaustion. 4 boys under 12, 2 dogs that wouldn't stop barking at shadows, and a house that seemed to produce dirty laundry like a factory. No breaks, no backup, no sign of Kelsey. That first week, I ran on adrenaline and muscle memory. Wake them up, feed them, brush teeth, get them to school, pick them up, dinner, homework, bedtime. Repeat. Every hour packed, every minute spoken for. I didn't even think about her after a while, just about how to survive until the next thing. Nights were worse. Once they were asleep, the silence hit hard. I'd try to knock out laundry or sweep the kitchen, but mostly I sat there in a fog, trying to make sense of what the hell just happened. I'd stare at the baby monitor like something might pop up and fix it all. Around night 13, I was scrubbing peanut butter off the couch cushions at 2 a.m., while a dryer buzzed non-stop in the background. The air in the house smelled like old socks and Febreze. My back ached. My eyes felt like sandpaper. I hadn't slept more than 3 hours in a row since she left. Not once. Mason had cried for almost an hour earlier. He wouldn't go to sleep without that stupid lullaby Kelsey used to hum every night. I couldn't remember half the damn lyrics. I ended up pulling some video off YouTube and mumbling along like an idiot just to calm him down. He finally passed out, gripping my thumb so tight it went numb. That night, I finally hit a wall. Sat down at the kitchen table and just sat. Everything in me crashed. There was no space, no spiritual quest, no healing journey. She was gone, no plan, no warning, no goodbye. Just a text like she was calling off a dentist appointment. And for what? I stared at the cold mug of coffee in front of me. Then I stood up, walked into the living room, and grabbed her old laptop from the bookshelf. She never logged out of anything. Always said remembering passwords was too stressful. Guess she figured I'd never look. Big mistake. I powered it on, heart racing in my chest like I was stealing from a stranger. The screen blinked awake, desktop cluttered with open tabs. The first thing I saw was a group chat labeled Temple Burners 2025. I clicked it. Photos. Hundreds of them. Tents. Naked people. Dust storms. People wearing feathers and neon body paint, spinning fire and grinning like they'd solved world peace. Kelsey was right there in the middle of it. Grinning like she hadn't left 4 kids at home who still thought she was coming back. I clicked into her email. There were 2 accounts. One I recognized. One I didn't. The second was a burner account. The name spelled wrong, like a middle schooler trying to be clever. That's where I found the itinerary. A whole folder labeled Desert Trip 2025, round-trip flights, hotel receipts, a shared packing list, and 2 Burning Man passes. Second ticket name, Trent Myers. My breath caught so hard it felt like a punch to the chest. I stood up fast, knocking the chair over behind me. Trent. Of all people. He was my roommate sophomore year, my best man at our wedding. He held Braden the day he was born. He helped me carry a busted washing machine into this very house 3 summers ago. I gave that guy a key to our garage. And now? He was off in the desert with my wife, playing house like this was some bohemian honeymoon. I scrolled deeper, more emails, travel details. They'd been planning it for months. Months. While I was working overtime to cover bills, she was shopping for camping gear and booking VIP parking passes in the Nevada desert with my former best friend. That's when something snapped in me. I closed the laptop, stood there in the middle of the kitchen, and let the rage take over. Not yelling, not throwing things. I just felt this sharp clarity. She didn't slip. She chose. She chose him, the desert, the acid, the glow sticks, over her kids, over me, over everything we built. And now she was gone, and I was here, up to my neck in laundry and chicken nuggets, patching holes she tore open without a second thought. But I wasn't going to be some sad guy she walked out on. I was going to handle this. Clean, smart, brutal if I had to. Because while she was off chasing the sun, I was about to bring the roof down. I didn't throw the laptop, didn't scream into a pillow or punch a wall like some drunk teenager. I closed the lid, took a deep breath, and walked straight to the junk drawer in the kitchen. Buried under batteries and broken pens was the old business card I'd kept since Braden's first football season. Blake Halverson, attorney at law. He used to coach the local youth team when Braden was 6, the kind of guy who wore windbreakers to church and had a voice like gravel. I called his office right then, left a message. 2 hours later, I was sitting in a dim, cluttered conference room that smelled like coffee and ink. I didn't sugarcoat it. Gave him the full list. The text, the voicemail log, the photos, the trip itinerary, the emails with Trent's name plastered all over them. I didn't look up while I talked. Just read it all off like a grocery list. Blake didn't blink. He scratched his chin, then leaned back in his chair. We'll bury her in paperwork before she gets a word in. His voice was calm, cold, not cruel, just clinical, like a surgeon staring at an open wound. We'll file for emergency custody, lay out the timeline, the evidence, everything. You've been doing it all anyway. Judges don't like ghosts. From there, I moved fast. Blake gave me a list of what I needed to do on my end, and I knocked it out like a checklist. First was the money. I booked a meeting with a financial planner Blake recommended. Quiet guy named Omar with glasses too big for his face but sharp as hell. I walked into his office with a printout of every joint account, every credit card, every bill. Told him what happened. He barely said 10 words the whole time. Just nodded, typed, and handed me a folder. We froze everything we shared. I opened a new account under my name. Rerouted every automatic payment, electric, water, trash, school lunch funds. Everything tied to the boys came through me now. She could burn sage in the desert all day, but she wasn't touching 1 cent of their support. Next came the house. I pulled up the app for the smart lock and revoked her access codes. She wouldn't be able to get in even if she tried. Not out of spite, out of survival. I couldn't have her walking back in whenever the drugs wore off. She wasn't safe. Not for them. Not for me. Then I called the credit card company and canceled every card with her name on it. The last thing I needed was some $600 crystal lamp showing up on our statement while I was stretching canned soup into dinner for 4. Every night after the boys went down, I chipped away at it. 1 step at a time. I scanned receipts, filed copies, made folders. The kitchen table turned into a legal war zone. Stacks of paper, labels, timelines. I didn't flinch. I didn't slow down. But I knew money would get tight. Even with the account split, her income was gone, and we were still one family-sized disaster away from falling behind. So I called my buddy Dylan, who owned a garage on the north side of town. He used to let me hang there in high school, back when I drove a rusty Ford and thought I knew everything about engines. I asked if he needed help on weekends. He said yes without asking questions. Saturdays and Sundays, I'd drop the kids with my sister Kim by 7. Then I'd head over to the shop, grab a rag, and start turning wrenches. Oil changes, tire patches, brake jobs. By lunch, my arms were black with grease, and my back felt like it was made of bricks. But it was honest work, and it kept the lights on. Every time I wiped sweat off my face or caught my reflection in the garage window, I reminded myself, I'm not doing this for revenge. I'm not doing it to hurt her. I'm doing it to protect what's mine. I wasn't some abandoned husband licking his wounds. I was a father digging trenches. I didn't tell the boys what I was doing. Didn't talk about Mom. When they asked where she was, I said she was taking time to figure things out. Braden gave me a look once, that sideways glance that said he knew more than he was letting on. But he didn't press it. He just went back to his math worksheet. The weird part? The house got quieter. Not just less noise, but calmer. No walking on eggshells. No crystal bowls humming from the kitchen counter. No realignment talks or dramatic sighs while I washed dishes. Just normal chaos. Kid chaos. And while she spun around the desert in a feather boa pretending life was some mystical art installation, I was here, putting bricks in the wall. Each receipt, each canceled card, each signed form, every dinner made from scratch and every bedtime story finished. All of it was mortar. She'd walked out without a plan. I was building one she couldn't get through. Day 28, right around 6:15 in the evening. I'd just finished cleaning up spaghetti off the kitchen floor after Mason flipped his bowl trying to chase the dog. The boys were piled on the couch watching some cartoon about alien dinosaurs. The house smelled like garlic and Febreze. That's when my phone lit up with a FaceTime call. Her name. Her face. After nearly a month of total silence, I let it ring out. 15 seconds later, the texts started, one after another like bullets. Where are my sons? Answer me. We need to talk now. I'm coming home. This is insane. You can't keep them from me. They're my kids, too. I stared at the screen, heart pounding but hands steady. Then I answered the third call. Not because I owed her anything. I just wanted to look her in the eye. The image on my screen looked like a stranger. Her face was sunburned and wind-chapped, hair twisted into greasy knots. The background was chaos. Dusty tents, shirtless people banging drums, some guy in a unicorn hat walking past with a bottle of tequila. It was like a scene from a nightmare masquerading as a party. She didn't even say hello, just launched straight into it. Where are they? I didn't blink. Safe, I said. Back in the life you dropped like trash on the side of the highway. Her face twisted. You can't just take them. I needed space. No, I said. You didn't need space. You needed a babysitter while you took off for a week-long acid trip with Trent. That name hit like a slap. She blinked, mouth open, scrambling. It wasn't like that. You disappeared, I cut her off. No calls, no texts, no money. You walked out on your family like it was a summer internship you got bored of. She leaned in toward the camera, her voice rising. You have no idea what I've been through. I was falling apart. I needed time to reconnect with myself. I laughed, one hard, humorless sound. Glad you found your vibe under a disco ball in the middle of nowhere. Meanwhile, I was here wiping Mason's nose and Googling lullaby lyrics. Her tone shifted fast. She went from rage to guilt like flipping a switch. Please, just let me talk to them. They're my babies too. I shook my head. You're not walking back in like this was a long weekend. You made your choice. I made mine. She started crying. Or trying to. The kind of tears that come too easy when you're out of ammo. You're being cruel. No, I said, flat as concrete. I'm being a father. She tried again. We can fix this. We need to sit down and talk. Too late for talking, I said. I've got a lawyer. You'll hear from him. And I ended the call. I didn't let myself sit with the emotion. Didn't waste energy second-guessing. I walked straight to the hallway drawer, pulled out the sealed packet I'd prepped days ago with Blake. Everything neatly labeled and tabbed. Emergency custody filing, financial documentation, teacher letters, neighbor statements, all of it. I dropped it in a shipping envelope, printed her last known address, slapped on a priority label, and drove it straight to the overnight drop box. No games, no chances, no wiggle room. That night, after the boys were in bed, I poured myself a single whiskey and sat on the porch. It was quiet, cooler than it had been all week. I didn't feel victorious. I didn't feel bitter either. I felt like a man who'd finally secured the perimeter. The next morning she tried calling again. 5 more times. I didn't answer. Texts kept coming. Everything from "I'm sorry" to "You'll regret this." One even said, "You're poisoning the kids against me." I forwarded the messages to Blake. He replied in 2 minutes flat. "Keep logging, everyone. This helps us." By lunchtime, she'd emailed me, claimed she wanted to reintegrate peacefully. I didn't even open the attachment she sent. Just dragged it into the custody case folder on my desktop and moved on. The boys didn't ask about her that day. Not even once. I think Braden saw her name pop up on my screen, but he didn't say a word. Just looked at me for a second while tying his soccer cleats, then kept moving. It hit me then. They weren't waiting for her anymore. And neither was I. She thought she could drop a match and come back once the fire died down. But I'd already rebuilt the foundation, and I was locking the doors behind me. 2 mornings later, right around 7:30, I was in the kitchen packing lunches when I heard the banging. Not knocking, full-on fists pounding the front door like she was trying to break it down. The boys were still upstairs getting dressed, cartoons humming low in the background. I walked to the door slow. Didn't rush. I already knew who it was. I looked through the peephole first, even though I didn't need to. There she was, Kelsey. Hair pulled back into some tangled bun, face blotchy and swollen like she hadn't slept in days. Hoodie 3 sizes too big, leggings stained at the knees. I cracked the door and kept my foot planted behind it. She tried to smile like nothing had happened. "Hey, can we talk?" I didn't move. "About what?" She rolled her eyes like I was being difficult. "I need to see my sons." That line hit different, like she still thought she was walking back into the same life, like her name on the birth certificate gave her a free pass. "You'll see them in court," I said, voice flat. Her smile snapped into a scowl. "You can't do this, Noah. You don't get to gatekeep my own children from me." I opened the door a little wider, but stepped into the doorway. "You're not on the lease. You don't live here. You have no legal right to step inside." And then she tried it. Pushed against the door like she could still bully her way through me. I didn't budge. My hand hit the frame hard as I slammed it halfway shut in her face. "I'm not playing with you, Kelsey." She backed off a step, chest heaving. Then the tears started. Messy, fast, and real this time. Not performative. Not controlled. "I didn't know it would be this long," she choked out. "Trent said we'd go, we'd come back. It was just supposed to be a week. Then everything spiraled." I leaned against the frame and looked her straight in the eye. "He dumped you?" She nodded like a kid who got caught lying. No words, no excuses. Just a slow, humiliating nod. I almost laughed. Not because it was funny. It wasn't. But because it was so damn predictable. Of course he left her out there in the dust. Of course he fed her a dream and bailed when the real world came calling. She wiped her face with her sleeve. "I didn't know what else to do. I didn't have anywhere else to go." "You had here," I said. "You just didn't want it." Her lip trembled. She reached for the door again. "Please, just let me see them. They're probably so confused. I need to explain." "No," I said. "You don't get to explain it to them. Not yet. Not like this. You lost the right to control the story the minute you vanished." Her hands dropped to her sides like someone had cut the strings on a puppet. She looked down at the welcome mat like it might help her figure out what to say next. "You made your choice," I added. "Now you deal with it." She didn't argue, didn't yell. She just stood there, quiet, rocking slightly like she might collapse. Then I shut the door. Not fast, not dramatic, just firm. The lock clicked behind me. I turned around, and there was Braden standing at the top of the stairs, barefoot, holding his socks in one hand. "Was that Mom?" he asked. I nodded. "Yeah." "She's not coming in?" "Not today, bud." He didn't say anything, just turned around and went back to his room. A couple hours later, I was sitting at the dining table with my laptop when my phone rang. Blake's number. I answered. "She filed," he said without even saying hello. "Tried to submit for shared custody this morning. Claimed you were withholding contact." "And?" I asked, already knowing. "Too late. Judge already got your file yesterday. It's on the docket. Emergency petition already opened. Her motion's gonna look like a joke in comparison." I let out a breath I didn't realize I'd been holding. "You did good, Noah," Blake added. "You did it the right way." I hung up and looked around the living room. It was a mess. Crayons all over the coffee table, a sock stuck in the blinds, snack wrappers stuffed behind a pillow. But it was my mess. Their mess. Ours. She wasn't part of it anymore. She gave that up the day she walked out. And now, even with the tears and the regret and the shaking hands, it didn't change what came next. She could cry at the door all she wanted. But the court was the only door that mattered now. By the end of that week, everything went wide open. We lived in a town where nothing stays secret. You forget to mow your lawn, and 3 neighbors are talking about it by dinner. So when Kelsey's Burning Man photos started popping up on her public Facebook, it didn't take long before the fuse hit the gasoline. A mom from Mason's kindergarten class saw the pictures first. Kelsey wearing body paint and a sequined bra, standing on a plywood dragon surrounded by shirtless drummers, and some guy juggling flaming torches. That mom screenshotted it, shared it in the PTA group chat with the caption, "Is this Braden and Mason's mom?" By the time I picked the kids up from school that day, 3 teachers avoided eye contact, and one whispered, "If you need anything, just let me know." That's how I knew the bomb had gone off. Next morning at drop-off, the principal caught me by the curb. She didn't say Kelsey's name, just patted my arm and said the boys were in a safe and loving environment, and that the school would support whatever decisions came out of the legal process. Her voice was soft, like she thought I might snap. I didn't snap. I nodded, thanked her, and walked Braden to the door. He didn't ask about Mom. Didn't even flinch when another kid whispered something behind his back. Just kept walking with his jaw tight and eyes forward. But things escalated 2 days later. Braden had a home soccer game. Nothing major, just a weekend match at the middle school field. He was on defense, focused, calm. Kim was sitting with me on the bleachers, Mason eating goldfish beside her. That's when I saw her. Kelsey. Standing near the far fence in a hoodie and sunglasses, trying to blend in with a folding chair and a thermos. Like she could just drop in without a scene. Security noticed too. One of the assistant coaches made a call, and within 5 minutes, a deputy from school security approached her. She stood up fast, arguing. I couldn't hear what was said, but she was pointing at the field and crying. They didn't care. They walked her out before halftime. Braden saw it. Everyone did. He didn't wave, didn't say a word, just stared across the field while she was being escorted off. Then he turned and jogged back to his spot like nothing happened. After the game, he didn't bring it up. I didn't either. The school counselor called me the next afternoon. Said Braden was quiet but steady. Said the younger two had stopped asking where Mom was. She paused before saying that part, like it was supposed to be comforting. It wasn't. It just felt heavy. Kelsey stopped trying after that. No more calls. No more texts. But the mess she left behind wasn't done with me yet. Late one night, after I got the kids to bed and was halfway through folding laundry, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I almost ignored it, but something made me swipe. A woman's voice came through, sharp and controlled. "Is this Noah Harper?" "Yeah," I said, still holding a t-shirt in one hand. "This is Elise Myers," she said, "Trent's wife." I didn't say a word, just sat down on the edge of the bed, laundry forgotten. She kept going. "You don't know me, but I know everything. I found the receipts, the hotel bookings, the texts. He told me he was at a music production workshop in Denver. For 2 weeks." My jaw clenched. "And he was in the desert with my wife." She didn't flinch. "Yeah, I saw the photos. And then I found your lawyer's name in one of the emails she forwarded him. That's how I found you." I leaned forward, resting my elbows on my knees. "Why are you calling me?" "I'm divorcing him," she said, blunt as a sledgehammer. "And I'm suing your wife." That caught me off guard. Suing her? For what? "Alienation of affection," she said. "It still holds in this state. My lawyer confirmed it. She interfered in my marriage and she's going to pay for it." I didn't respond right away, just processed. This woman, who I'd never met, had been blindsided by the same two people who lit my life on fire and danced in the ashes, and now she was gearing up to fight, just like I did. Then I asked, "Would you be willing to testify? In my custody case?" Her answer was instant. "Hell yes." I thanked her. She didn't stay on the phone long. Said her lawyer would be in touch. Said she had everything documented, screenshots, texts, dates, even a printout of their check-in time at some Vegas hotel before they drove into the desert. When I hung up, I stared at the wall for a minute. Not in shock, not in disbelief, just locked in. Because now, it wasn't just my word against Kelsey's. It was Kelsey and Trent against the people they blew their lives up for. And we were ready to drag every ugly truth into the light. We walked into court 15 minutes early. The hallway smelled like old carpet and nerves. I had the boys dropped off at my sister's. Blake met me on the steps outside. He looked calm, almost bored. Said that was a good sign. Inside the courtroom, it felt colder than I expected. Bleached lighting, wooden benches, one bailiff leaning against the back wall like he'd seen it all and didn't care to hear it again. Kelsey came in 5 minutes late. She looked wrecked. Worn jeans, oversized hoodie, hair barely brushed, no makeup, chipped nails, red around the eyes. She didn't even glance at me. I looked straight at her. Blake leaned over and said under his breath, "You don't say a word unless asked." No looks, no sighs, nothing. Let her show the judge who she really is. The judge walked in. Female, maybe mid-50s, sharp voice and no time for small talk. We all stood, then sat. She went straight into it. She opened the file. This is a petition for emergency sole custody based on abandonment, with supporting documentation from the petitioner and third-party statements. Her tone didn't shift an inch. She looked right at Kelsey. Do you understand what this hearing is about? Kelsey nodded, quiet. Yes, Your Honor. The judge didn't waste a second. Then let's get to it. You were gone for 28 days with no contact. That's not a break. That's not a vacation. That's a legal concern. Why? Kelsey squirmed in her seat. I was overwhelmed. The judge raised her eyebrows. Overwhelmed? I didn't mean to stay away that long, she said, barely above a whisper. It was just supposed to be a short trip. I thought... The judge held up a hand. That's enough. You'll get a chance to respond. But first, I want to hear from the witness. Elise stood up from the back row, walked to the stand in a blazer and heels like she was stepping into a boardroom. You'd never guess she'd been on the other end of this same betrayal just weeks ago. Blake called her up, swore her in. Then he went right to the point. Can you tell the court how you know the respondent, Kelsey Harper? Elise nodded once. She had an affair with my husband. What evidence do you have of that? Elise opened her folder and handed a packet to the clerk. Emails, burner phone messages, hotel receipts, plane tickets, photos, social media posts, all showing that she and my husband, Trent Myers, were together in Nevada during the same time frame she was missing from her home. Blake let the evidence hit the table. The judge flipped through it, one photo at a time. Feather bows, body paint, matching wristbands. Then Elise delivered the blow. Her voice was steady, controlled. My husband told our 8-year-old son that he was going to a music workshop in Denver. Instead, he flew to Las Vegas and drove with Kelsey Harper to Burning Man. He didn't call, he didn't check in, and neither did she. The judge stopped flipping through the photos. Thank you. You may step down. Blake stood, buttoned his jacket, and approached the bench. Your Honor, I'd like to submit the full custody timeline we prepared. It outlines the petitioner's actions during the respondent's absence, including meal records, school attendance, medical appointments, and child care support. She waved him forward. Already reviewed it. Very thorough. I appreciate the structure. Kelsey finally raised her head. Her voice cracked. It was just one mistake. I didn't leave them. I needed to get away and Trent offered. The judge cut her off so hard the room went silent. This wasn't a break. This wasn't a weekend getaway. This was reckless abandonment. You left 4 children with no contact, no support, and no plan, for almost a month. That's not a mistake. That's a choice. Kelsey's face went pale. She didn't respond. The judge turned to me. Mr. Harper, your documentation checks out. Emergency custody is granted effective immediately. Full legal and physical custody to the petitioner. She turned back to Kelsey. You will have no contact with the children until you complete a full psychological evaluation. Once that is approved by the court, we will revisit the matter of supervised visitation. Kelsey's mouth opened like she wanted to protest, but nothing came out. Just this strangled breath like the air had been punched out of her. The gavel came down. One hit. Cold and final. People stood up. Papers shuffled. I didn't move. Blake put a hand on my shoulder and nodded toward the door. Kelsey stayed sitting. Outside the courthouse, Elise caught up to me. Her heels clicked sharp on the sidewalk. She didn't smile, didn't smirk, just handed me a card. My lawyer, she said. If she tries anything shady, we're ready. I took it. You held your own in there. She nodded. I didn't do it for you. I did it for me. And for your boys. Fair enough. She turned and walked away without looking back. I stood there for a moment, breathing in the afternoon air. The sky looked clearer than it had in weeks. Not peaceful, not yet, but clearer. I wasn't celebrating. I wasn't gloating. I was just done letting someone else wreck the lives I was still showing up for. It was exactly 7 days after the court ruling when I got the last message from her. Just one sentence. No greeting, no explanation. Just, "You destroyed me." I stood in the kitchen, phone in hand, half a peanut butter sandwich on the counter next to a sticky juice box Mason had left open. I stared at her message for maybe 10 seconds, then typed back 3 words. "You did that yourself." Then I blocked her. For good. After that, she vanished. Word got around fast that she'd packed up what little she had and moved back to her mom's place in Kansas, small town outside of Salina. No job, no car, nothing. Her mom was apparently letting her sleep in the basement, and even that sounded like a temporary deal. I didn't celebrate it, I didn't cheer, but I also didn't feel bad. She made that mess. I just kept my hands clean. Trent didn't do much better. Elise told me he got fired from his ad agency after a client found out about the whole Burning Man fiasco. Apparently, someone had sent in anonymous photos of him doing body shots off a topless girl at some desert party. Not hard to guess who tipped them off. He left town 2 weeks later. Moved to Oregon or maybe Arizona. Nobody cared. He left behind a destroyed marriage, a wrecked career, and a custody battle Elise said she'd win without breaking a sweat. I believed her. And Elise? She won the alienation of affection lawsuit. Hammered Kelsey hard in court. Kelsey now owed her $27,000 and change in damages, plus court fees. Her savings were gone within a week. That spiritual journey cost her more than just her family. It buried her in a financial grave she'd be crawling out of for years. Meanwhile, back in our house, life slowly started feeling normal again. Braden stepped up in a way I didn't expect. He started helping me coach Little League. Not just showing up, actually helping. Showing the younger kids how to pivot their foot on a throw. Teaching Mason how to hold a bat without choking up too high. Quiet, steady leadership. Just like I'd prayed for. Mason laughed more. Belly laughed. Threw Legos across the living room and made fart noises and told knock-knock jokes that didn't make sense. The kind of laugh that only comes out when a kid feels safe. My middle one, Eli, came home from school one day with a folded piece of construction paper. "It's you," he said, handing it to me. I opened it and found a marker drawing of me with a red cape and a giant S on my chest. I asked, "Is this Superman?" He shook his head. "Number? It's you, Dad." I had to turn away for a second so he wouldn't see my eyes well up. Every now and then, they still asked small questions. "Do you think Mom's still in Kansas? Does she have a dog now? Is she sad?" I answered straight, but short. "Yeah, she's there. I don't know about the dog. And maybe." I never trashed her. Didn't need to. Kids connect the dots faster than we think. The house got quieter at night, but not the bad kind. Just peace. After they went to bed, I'd sit on the back porch with a beer, listening to the cicadas and the distant hum of traffic. The silence didn't feel heavy anymore. It felt earned. I still woke up early, even on weekends. Years of routine burned into my brain. I'd brew coffee before sunrise, check emails, check the locks. Sometimes I'd find myself standing in the hallway, just listening, making sure the house was still standing, still full of life. The trauma left marks. I won't lie. I flinched at every unknown number on my phone. I kept copies of the custody papers in a folder near the fridge just in case she ever tried to come back. The boys would have nightmares sometimes. Eli wet the bed twice in a single week. Mason got clingy, needed extra hugs. I gave them freely. There were no shortcuts, just small steps forward. But every one of those steps mattered. One Saturday morning, Braden and I were at the field early, setting up cones before the rest of the team arrived. He looked up from the bag of gear and said, "You think she even knows what day it is?" I looked at him. He wasn't angry when he said it, just curious. "Probably not," I said. "But that's not your job to worry about." He nodded. "Yeah, I guess not." Then he went back to laying out the bases like a pro. That afternoon, I found Mason asleep in a blanket fort in the living room, holding a plush bear Kelsey had bought him 2 birthdays ago. I didn't take it away, didn't throw it out. Some memories, even the painful ones, belong where they are, as long as they're not controlling anything. I walked upstairs and stood in the doorway of Eli's room for a moment. He was coloring in a book, humming to himself. He didn't look up. He didn't need to. He knew I was there. And that's when it hit me. She'd left these boys behind. But I never would. It was a Thursday night, sometime after dinner, when I ran into her sister. I was grabbing milk and frozen waffles from the grocery store down the street, same one we'd gone to as a family 100 times before. I turned the corner near the cereal aisle and almost bumped into her. Jenna, Kelsey's younger sister. She froze, holding a bag of flour and a 6-pack of sparkling water. Her eyes dropped quick. No smile. No, hey. I gave her a nod. Didn't expect to see you here. She shifted her weight and looked past me like she was trying to find the exit. Finally, she mumbled. She's not the same anymore. I didn't ask who. We both knew. Jenna cleared her throat. She talks about the boys like she's some kind of victim. Says you poisoned them. Says you made her disappear. I kept my hands on the cart, calm. She made her call. Nobody pushed her. She nodded once, then turned and walked away without saying goodbye. Didn't matter. I didn't need more than that. I paid for the groceries, drove home in silence. The boys were already upstairs when I got back. I put everything away, wiped the counter, and sat in the backyard for a bit. The shed caught my eye. It had been falling apart since before Kelsey left. The roof sagged, the door wouldn't close right, and the inside was a mess of rusty nails and old Christmas bins. One afternoon, after I finally got caught up with court stuff and bills, I decided to rip the whole thing down and start over. It wasn't about storage. It wasn't even about the shed. It was the first thing I built for myself since the storm hit. I tore off the roof plank by plank, replaced the studs, painted the door a deep gray the boys picked out together at Home Depot. Mason helped hold the screws. Eli tried to draw flames on the side with sidewalk chalk. Braden stood back with his arms crossed like a project manager, pointing out uneven corners and crooked shingles. It didn't come out perfect, but it was ours. People started noticing too. Neighbors dropped off extra lumber. One brought pizza for the boys while I worked. Another offered to lend me his drill set. I didn't ask for any of it, but I didn't turn it down either. The community stepped in without being asked. Parents from Little League offered to carpool. Teachers sent home extra materials without charging me. My boss approved a remote schedule, 3 days a week working from home so I didn't have to lean so hard on my sister anymore. Every little hand made the weight lighter. Nobody said it out loud, but they all knew. Kelsey's name had turned sour around here. She wasn't just the woman who left. She was the story moms whispered about when they thought the kids weren't listening. Then, one night while I was scrolling through emails, I saw her name in my inbox, Elise Myers. It wasn't legal stuff, just a short message. Hey, just wanted to say thanks. I've moved on, found someone new. He's boring and good and stable as hell. I'm happy. We burned them. Now we get to rebuild. That last line sat with me. I reread it 3 times. We burned them. Now we get to rebuild. I leaned back in my chair, let out a breath I didn't realize I'd been holding, and smiled for the first time in a long time without forcing it. There wasn't some huge moment of closure. No final showdown or dramatic confrontation. No apology coming through the mail. It was just little stuff now. Quiet mornings where nobody cried. Sandwich crusts cut just the way they liked. Laughter coming from the living room instead of silence. Half-finished art projects taped to the fridge. Late-night Nerf gun battles that ended with, "Just 5 more minutes, Dad." The kind of peace that doesn't announce itself. It just grows. And every time I looked out at that rebuilt shed, I knew one thing for sure. We survived the fire. Now we were finally getting to live past the smoke. People ask me sometimes if she came back today, different, sorry, changed, would I ever take her back? Number. That man? The one who would have considered it? He died the moment she texted me from the middle of the desert like I was some babysitter she forgot to pay. Not a partner, not a father, just a disposable extra on the life she'd decided to walk out of. What she did wasn't some slip. It wasn't a mental breakdown or one bad night she regretted. It was selfish, clear-eyed, calculated. She bought tickets, booked hotels, packed her bags, and told 0 people. That's not confusion. That's cowardice with a smile. She didn't just leave me. She left 4 boys who still had glue in their hair and bedtime songs memorized. For what? A glow-stick rave and a married man in a feather vest? She left them thinking it was someone else's job to carry the weight. And I did carry it. Every pound of it. I made every damn meal, washed every uniform, showed up at every teacher conference, sat in the ER with Mason when he broke his wrist falling off the monkey bars. I packed lunches and wrote notes on napkins when they had spelling tests. I stayed up with Eli when he had a fever and wanted to know why she wasn't coming back. I gave them answers I didn't even have for myself. I smiled when I didn't feel like smiling. I stayed steady when everything felt like it was spinning off the rails. I got them through it. We got each other through it. And now? I don't live for anger anymore. That burned hot and fast. But it passed. I live for peace now. The quiet kind. The kind that comes from knowing exactly who you are and who you'll never be again. I live for Sunday night movie marathons where we eat popcorn out of the mixing bowl and argue over who gets the couch blanket. I live for early morning fishing trips where we don't catch a damn thing but eat gas station donuts and call it a win anyway. I live for the notes Braden leaves on the fridge reminding me to sign permission slips, for the muddy cleats by the door, for Mason dragging his pillow downstairs on stormy nights. Those are my wins now. Not legal victories, not revenge. Just moments that actually matter. Do I wish it had been different? Of course I do. But wishing doesn't rewrite what happened. And I wouldn't trade what I have now to go back to some lie we were both pretending to believe in. She'll never sit at this table again. She lost that seat. Not because I hate her, but because I love them too much to let her back in just to fracture it all again. That's not punishment. That's the cost of walking away. You leave once, and maybe, just maybe, someone lets you back in. You leave like she did, with silence, lies, and a selfie from the middle of nowhere. You don't get to return to the fire you abandoned and expect it to still be warm. It's not bitter. It's just done. And now? Now I sit here with 3 wild, messy, beautiful boys who call me Dad with their whole chest, who look at me like I'm made of stone, even when I feel cracked. We made it through. That's the story I'll tell. Not about the storm she brought, but the shelter we built in spite of it. What do you think? Should someone like Kelsey ever get a second chance at parenting after what she did? Drop your answer in the comments. And if this story hit you, like and subscribe for more.
YouTube picked this for you. Tap it. Let's see if they guessed right.